I've always found those questions hard to answer myself. So I would always just fucking revert to whatever would seem like the easiest answer to get me hired in the interview. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you what the fuck you want to hear. Are you kidding me? I'm trying to work here, motherfucker. And of course, in 5 years, I want to be next to you, man, doing the best job I can do for this company. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna,
and you know what's even funnier for like my, I say funny, but like for me, it's different because I've rarely had to do interviews.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Like in my line of work, I've either gotten a job on merit, I got a job because I had a dick and I lift people, or I've been with the same organization for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just picturing you doing all the lifting, the heavy lifting with that third arm.
Can't look in the eyes of my brother.
Hey, bro, what it is, what it do, how you be. I'm trying to get on your girl and skeet my nigga.
That's how you open a motherfucking episode. Snoop said it in 94. We don't love these hoes.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of the InforMILLy Honest Motherfucker Podcast.
I'm trying to laugh I'm trying to do my extended laugh on the side of the mic. So that's that was funnier than one laugh, man.
My Jada kiss. Yo, welcome back. Thank you for joining us for another week. We appreciate you, and keep on sharing and liking and subscribing and all those great things, as you know, as social media works. Fellas, how y'all doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good as well. Getting turned, excited.
It's not the life I live at all. I'm tired of shit. My body hurts. I'm in heavy season, getting ready for this show. Shout out to Deep to You, the Dance Theater, November 5th, Auditorium Theater. Go buy your tickets. I'd give a promo code, but by the time this comes out, it is not going to be good anymore. So, but yeah. So why don't we go ahead and kick in to our first subject for the episode, if you don't mind. So Adam, thank you for sharing this thing that I did not know anything about. Hold on. I'm trying to get my man's name.
I think it's Walkie.
Walkie. So Walkie, a 27-year-old Russian rapper, commits suicide when enlisted to fight in the Ukrainian war. They openly protested against it, and Putin was like, "Gotcha, bitch," and he was like, "No, you don't." And so
he just lost one. As Lauren Hill previously said.
Man.
Content warning. I forgot to say. I'm sorry.
Comedic timing.
If this is a sensitive subject for anybody. But yeah, they decided, nah. Going out on my own terms like a motherfucking G. In case you forgot, I'm a goddamn rapper. And so they took the big dive off the how should I say, off the what's it called, the
diving board.
Yeah, the high dive. Took a high dive.
Oh, got you.
No pool, one body, and so yeah. So in this kind of subject, a part of me goes, I respect it. Personally, I'm like, yo, if you stand that strong in your morals and values that you're like, I would rather peace the fuck out than fighting a war that I don't believe in, shed blood of person that I have no animosity toward, I have no reason to end their life, in which I hope that they wouldn't even try to end mine. What are your feelings on this?
Well, right now, man, I mean, it's just a perspective that I guess that's hard to speak on. I respect it, like you said, because I don't know if I could do it. And he clearly was against that war. Like that's somebody who means what he said. That motherfucker, if that motherfucker says I will be on time, that you can expect him 5 minutes early. If you ain't 5 minutes early, you late. You know what I'm saying? No, I respect it. All jokes aside, oh, fuck. All this is, this is.
I'm trying to be serious because it's a serious thing. At the same time,
it really is. Oh my god! It just reminds me of like seeing people laugh at funerals. It's like this is not the time.
Yeah.
Part of me, I even get people laughing at funerals though, because whatever your nervous reaction is, that's what it is. Not that this is equitable, but I remember we went to Disney Universal back in like 2000, something like that. And I remember the worst roller coaster was this like twin dragon roller coaster or something like that, that my brother was like scared to get on. And I remember it being so like crazy that I laughed the entire time. That I sound like a goddamn psychopath.
like a nervous laugh kind of thing. Like either you laugh or you cry kind of situation.
Literally, you would think that my evil plan worked. It was straight maniacal. It didn't seem like I was like like I was like it was. I might as well have said wah, ha, 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 the whole time.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's sad, man. I mean, it's fucking sad, but at the same time, it's really hard to speak to that perspective. It's like I can't imagine that right now. I'm glad to say that I can't imagine a situation. I can't imagine myself in that situation. So I'm grateful. Number one, So
if I can ask this, and Adam will come back. Is there something? No, Adam, say what you want to say first, and then I'll ask my question.
Okay, so well, for me, like Aaron said, like that he definitely, obviously stood by what he believed in, and honestly, I think what he did. I'm not applauding. I don't think it's good that he took his own life, but at the same time, I think he showed the highest level of faith or the dedication to something that that he did at the highest level. He, like what else could he have done besides sacrifice himself for a cause? And it was so crazy about it is like it wasn't even like his thing. Like a lot of people wouldn't want to get drafted. Why? Because they don't want to die. Like it's not even like all politics aside. I just don't want to die. He was like, I don't mind dying. I'm just not gonna die for you. And that's the deep thing about it. Because he still died ultimately, but it was like, I'm just not gonna die for President Putin. And that's crazy. And that's the deeper thing. So it's not like he tried to draft, dodge, and escape the country, because we're sure that that story has happened around the world,
right.
thousands of times. But this dude went to the extreme, Muhammad Ali he went to prison, and that's,
And I assure you, that's what Brother Walkie. I'm sure he would have gone to prison.
Yeah. Maybe. They might even assassinate him.
I was about to say Russia, that, bro.
But he's definitely prison at the absolute
least. Yeah.
Muhammad Ali definitely has a better chance of surviving in prison than this dude.
Yeah.
This is damn it. I don't want to speak like that, but it's like, it's true. I'm really not trying to make this funny, but it's just like, damn,
don't feel bad. That's what we do here, and it's a means it's a means of catharsis. We're not taking light. In my humble opinion.
Yeah,
I'm not the psychologist of this motherfucker.
Yeah.
But it's the way we cope. We cope by laughing.
Yeah.
And so, trust and believe, I stopped myself from making several jokes this entire time.
What's crazy? And then I want you to get back to what you were going to say, Josh. I know you had something to say originally, but like, it's just this time, anytime somebody dies, but especially when somebody takes their own life, it's just a reminder at the same time that like the laws that govern us only mean so much.
Yeah.
They only have value when we are not willing. Like, Yeah, exactly. They only have value if you hear and if you really, a lot of times, like, okay, I don't want to say you're afraid, but like a lot of times fear is a motivator of, I don't want to lose this. So I'll stay in line sort of thing. But it's just overall, it's just a reminder, like this whole man law shit don't really mean that much.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Ultimately, I guess is what I'm saying. You know,
but I guess even when we talk about like a concept of ultimately, we're talking about like, regardless of whatever's in my short-sightedness, regardless of whatever spiritual ascension you may go through, if you're living in a place that is governed by a certain kind of law, like if you're in the mountains and you get to be fucking up in Tibet in a temple, like, sure. But I'm sure even that Tibetan temple has its own governing laws that you got to abide by. Like, don't shit in the middle of the temple. So you got to abide by that. And if you're like, well, I want to be able to shit wherever I want to shit, then you can't be in that motherfucker. And so you're still governed by whatever that is. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, it's not, I feel like it's not, what am I trying to say? Yeah, well, as the time ticks, as the clock keeps ticking, the fuck am I trying to say? No, I know what you're saying. Like, I agree. I'm just saying, I feel like maybe these reminders that there's like, it's not the ultimate thing will make like,
so what is?
It would help.
Like, what does ultimate mean?
Like getting lost in it, like getting lost in, like making big deals of, you know how folks say at the end of their life, sometimes they say, oh, I have all these regrets. I wish I didn't put so much of my happiness or so much of my stock of joy or value in all these little things. Because in the moment, it seemed like the biggest thing in the world. That's what I'm saying. It's really not. And it's a reminder to like not. That is what she said. That is what she said. It's not the biggest thing in the world.
I
was like, look, you're going to get it tonight. I was like, it's what you're going to get tonight. It's being served up. It's being served up on a bronze platter, motherfucker. All right, bronze.
I hear that. I guess if I'm just looking at this situation, that could be maybe felt in a broader sense. But in this situation of man's was dealt a hardcore ultimatum. You go either off some people that don't deserve it, that you're colonizing and occupying, or or go to jail and suffer whatever hellscape Russian jail is.
Yeah.
Or you die by some other means, whether it's your own hand or the ops. So I think it's like, it's in that scenario, the ultimate, or like what we're putting, what you say, not you say, but what's being looked at in kind of that that like I don't have the word for it, but to look at it, like,
it's all good. I didn't have it either.
to look at it as if like, oh, it's not that deep. I think all of it is that deep at that point. I think when we get to that is a bit of a, I could be wrong about this, and I'll debate people if you got a better perspective. Write us at InforMILLy@gmail.com. I think we get the privilege of being able to think like that more than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. I guess a good way to say it is, yeah, I didn't have to apply it so specifically to this situation. I'm speaking like when situations like this happen where somebody does have a shit hand seemingly, and they have to make something out of it. Like it's the lesser of two evils, whatever decision they make. It's a reminder to, like you said, others who don't have that like the shit's not like the shit that I think or we may think is serious in the moment really isn't. They're
Yeah.
It's a nice reminder in that like that's what I was getting at.
Most of that. And that's not to. I'm not trying to say like oh man, you don't really care about these motherfuckers. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just like I see that kind of often where sometimes like a really fucked situation will get presented to someone, and then because they don't know how to respond, or because they have had like access or what have you to a certain lifestyle or experience, then they don't really think about what that experience is. I'm not saying that's happening to you. I'm just speaking to the other perspective.
Yeah. And I'm not this is we could debate this for another topic. Another episode. It would be good.
Let me fire off a question though. Is there something that you feel is deep enough that you would choose that kind of ultimatum? Like, maybe it's not necessarily fully end your shit, but is there like a cause or a person or something like that which you're like, I'll deal with whatever consequences to not do that thing?
That's a very good question. And I wondered if that was going to be the question you were going to ask when I said, like, because that perspective of like, I can't imagine myself in that meaning, like, I'm grateful that I haven't had those situations. And it's hard. It's hard for me to say with like, I haven't really in last 5-10 years, I've been less of that person who's like, if I was in a situation, I would do this. I'm more of a, let me hope that I got, let me see what my options are in the moment, because that's what matters. you know what I'm saying? Well,
I'll even pose it to you like this though, because I completely support that mode of thinking of going like, you don't want to be like, I would have done that. I would have done, nigga. Like you don't have to be that person.
Yeah.
But it could always be a thing of, this is my truth today. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't choose something different tomorrow. But as I currently know myself right now, this is what I believe would be true.
Yeah. Until physically challenged, this is what I say.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. While I'm lit off of these blue moons and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's true.
I mean, for real. Like I'm resigned to, like, I've resigned myself to an accepted truth that I'm just not gonna fight motherfuckers no more. I'm not like, if shit escalates, I'm really gonna go, can I end this quickly if it becomes physical? And if I can't, what the fuck can I do to shut this down?
Yeah, I feel you. Yo, Josh is looking for that. He's like, if I can't get that Kimbo slice KO in the first 10, 20 seconds, it's not happening.
It's like, I might not knock you out, but if I could get like one shot to your Adam's apple, you're not going to continue to fight. If I can get one, like, just no shot bridge up into your brain, we can stop this. If I don't think I can get a one shot off, I'm not going to engage this physical altercation.
That's true, man. The Adam's apple shot is like feeling like you swallowed a kidney stone. So I feel you. No, that's a good, you know what though? I have like, I understand when folks say like, certain things they would die for. Like I like there's like inspirational quotes and shit. And like some of them, I'm paraphrasing, have been something sort of like, it's important to find something you would like, you're not living until you find something you'd be willing to die for, something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but like I feel like I understand the value of like saying, like, to my understanding, being so involved in whatever that thing is that you would lose yourself, or that you just might die for it, because you're so, whatever purpose or whatever it is has so much value to you that you, I guess, essentially rather die like working towards this cause, or working in that direction, usually towards something better for yourself or others. I understand that, and I see value, and like I probably would align more with that. And maybe, and my guess is this is kind of similar to what he was kind of getting off with,
AJ, what you think?
So for me, like I can't say there's a cause I would do that for. Like for me, like if I was drafted, drafted, I mean, I already served 10 years in the Air Force, but I mean, I was never in a position where I had a rifle in my hand and I was trying to, that was never my duty. I was a mechanic. That's not to say I've never, worked on a piece of equipment that has done that. Okay. But yeah, so as far as like a cause, I mean, honestly, I'm probably say no. I don't think there's nothing that I would die for, at least not knowingly. Like, so I wouldn't go into a situation like saying like I wouldn't kill myself for a cause. But like if there was a thing and we were like, we're gonna go to this protest and then some stuff happened, I wouldn't be scared to go to a protest in fear of being harmed in that sense, or in a dangerous, as long as the cause was something that I actually believed in.
Yeah, and if something you're saying, if like when you were there, something happened, you would, I guess, you wouldn't regret going to
exactly. That's the word I was trying to think of. Yeah.
Oftentimes, I feel like people answer that by saying like, of course, my family and shit. So maybe if I had children or like, but like even like my family, friends, my girl, close people to me who I love, like,
good.
It would still be like I don't know that, like, maybe this is me being naive, because I definitely contemplate death, and I acknowledge more in my latter years than previously. Like, oh, when I'm waking up today, this could be I've had that thought many a time, like this could be, this could be the last day. So for sure, definitely contemplate that.
I do that every time I hop on the highway out here in Chicago.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, man. It's not
the last time.
Facts, bro. It's not lost on us at all. But I feel like even then, it would be more like what Adam said, probably. Like if I would start, like I would have to catch something in the moment, and like maybe it would trigger a higher sense of like awareness and be like, okay, I'm seeing things going on. What are the next options? Otherwise, it would just be like in the moment, some shit pops off, and I'm like, I hope that I will respond as in a way that would be, really giving of myself for those that I love. But it would be hard to say even that, like going into it.
I have barely any real allegiance to the U.S. like that. That if a real draft happened, I'll be like, fuck. I like, y'all just started getting me for my taxes. You really think I'm
yeah. Honestly, like, I just want to just jump in real quick. For me, like after being in the military and kind of knowing how it functions, dude, you can go AWOL really easily. It's this secure thing, and like it's not as secure as you think. Like it's really not.
Okay. Question to that point: how long can someone get away with it for good, or they care enough? Do you think to like eventually find a way to penalize them?
I think you could get away with it, but you would have to really plan. But I don't think like. If you thought of it on Friday, man, like F this, I'm leaving my job, and then on Saturday you take off, you probably get busted somewhere or another. But if you've been planning this for a long time and you got like a plan, I think you could disappear.
I think if you're thinking about going off grid, if you like, I just can't believe like I don't want to believe that somebody could like be like, all right, I'm fucking out, and then go like home or go. Like, I think you need to go like, okay, I need to make sure I never use any credit card that I've ever had. I need to make sure nothing requires my social security number. Like, you need to get the fuck away.
See, that's the thing. You constantly looking over your shoulder kind of shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
But if you're a guy, like the military has a lot of loners. Because like a lot of times people will join the military because they don't really have much at home. So
no wife or kids or anything.
Or parents even.
So
there's people that have no issues with like living alone or in foreign countries by themselves. So like the military, we travel all the time. So you could legitimately like on one of these travel, whatever, training, whatever, you could just disappear in that moment. That would be probably the best time to do it.
That's a good point. Damn.
I mean, you could even people would probably think the worst and think you got kidnapped or and they wouldn't even think you went AWOL. They would just assume something happened to you.
Happened to you, right?
Which I feel like that would make them look differently versus if you went like willingly.
It's more of like a concern search as opposed to a hunt.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what you would want, I feel like, because you could just take depending on the country, you could just take a train, whatever, and you might want to. This is silly to even be going this deep into it, but I'm saying all I'm saying is you could disappear.
No. Treat that shit like girls' guts and get deep with it.
You're trying to leave a footprint.
Because I don't know if I said the story on here or not. I don't remember if I did, but I kind of have a kind of funny story with like kind of disappearing on accident. So like back in
on your Tom Clancy,
back in like I think it was 2018. It was when Hurricane Irma, whatever year Hurricane Irma was, it was that year, which I think was 2018, maybe 2017. It was 2017. So Hurricane Irma, thing is, okay, so Hurricane Irma was the thing, but before Hurricane Irma, me and Kirsten had planned a cruise, but obviously you don't know a hurricane is coming 5 months in advance, obviously. So anyway, but even when we even when the time is coming to take the cruise, there's no like real big hurricane warning. So we're like, oh, cool. So we, mind you, this is in September, which is prime hurricane season, which I was dumb and didn't even think about that when I was booking the cruise. But I probably saw that it was a lower price and like, oh yeah, this is perfect.
Because you're literally the only ones there.
Yeah. But anyway, so we are on the cruise, good time, and we're like the day before last. You can still watch TV and stuff. So there's people like gathered around the TV. And like, what's everybody's attention? So I look and they talk about a hurricane and this post hit Miami, which is exactly where we're about to be in a day. And then, turns out this hurricane had already hit like all the islands, like two of the islands that we were just at. It hit 2 days later. So we were 2 days in front of the hurricane.
Damn.
On this cruise ship. But we didn't know that.
Blessed.
Yeah, but we didn't even know that until we were like the day prior of getting back to Florida. So we're like, man, we gotta like evacuate, because they're talking about people evacuating and all this. But what makes the story so interesting is at this time, we weren't actually living in Florida anymore. So, but we weren't living anywhere anymore. So we technically didn't have a home. And the way that it worked out was because I was leaving that base in Florida to go to South Korea. And what we were going to do was we were going to drive from Florida to Indiana, and Kirsten was going to stay in Indiana and I'd go to Korea. So we had already moved out of the house, but en route to going to Indiana, we were going to take the cruise. I mean, when we got off the cruise ship, then we would do all the travel arrangements and go home. That was the plan.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But because of the hurricane, we had to scratch that and just evacuate. So, and the thing is, we had our dog was at one of those doggy daycare things, because we couldn't take on the boat, and we didn't have anybody to leave him with. So we left him there. So we had to like pretty much immediately get off the boat, get the dog, and then just evacuate. And then so just all in one motion. So we drove 19 hours to or was it? What was it? Panama City, Florida. That's where it was. So, mind you, so we got off the cruise ship in Miami. We lived in Homestead, which was south of Miami, which people don't even realize you can go much south further than Miami, further south. But we lived actually 30 miles south of Miami at the time. So we had to go down there. I think that's where the dog was, because we were never really expecting any of this to happen. So it didn't matter, So we went down there, then we went back up. So then the 19 hours and all that. So that's that part of the story. The shorter part was the military didn't know where I was at that time. They didn't know I was on the cruise ship. because there was kind of like a little bit of a miscommunication between me and my supervisor. Like I thought, because there's a thing called leave en route. So that's pretty much when you're leaving a base and going to the next base, you can take leave in between. And then like when you get there, they sort all that stuff out. So that's what I was planning to do. So me taking this cruise, I was technically supposed to be on leave, but because of the hurricane, it just screwed everything up. So it essentially looked like I went AWOL, but it just was a misunderstanding. So yeah, so they thought, I mean, they didn't think I went AWOL, but it could have appeared that I went AWOL because, you know, because my people at work, they didn't know where I was. So they're like, then they were calling around, like, then they called my parents and like, yeah, he's on a cruise. And then I guess they didn't know that, but but the thing is, because I was leaving the base, I didn't have to tell them I was going on the cruise because I was, it was supposed to be.
You weren't living on the base anymore, yeah.
Correct. It was supposed to be cruise, you know, probably stay a couple nights in Florida, then go back home. So, but it was just a
glad that didn't go south.
Could have been super serious.
No pun intended.
Yeah, and it could have been. That could have been really serious. But it wasn't. And then I didn't really get in trouble initially. I mean, I just got like a little talking to. But then the only reason why I got in any trouble after that was that my supervisor. Apparently, I was supposed to like put that travel stuff like in our little web system. You know, every workplace has like a little system, whatever. Military is so different. So he was pissed off that I didn't do that when I got back. So then he got pissed and he like wrote me like a whatever, which didn't matter because I wasn't on the base anymore. So he's like, okay. Then I just left and went to the next base. But it's a crazy story. So I could have just literally just jumped off the boat in Turks and Caicos and just hung out there and like nobody would have really known. Like,
bumped into Rihanna and shit.
Because if I didn't tell my mom, I mean, it'd be weird not to tell my parents I was traveling, you know, out of the country. But if I just didn't, they would have know where I was. So like, we don't know where he is. So it's just a weird situation. I should have gotten more trouble technically, but
but you prove that how easy it actually is to go AWOL. At least,
because I kind of did it on accident. Like, imagine if I had planned something like, you know, like a grand, like it's hurricane season 2. Yeah, I got the perfect plan. You know, disappear in the storm or some, you know, like crazy.
going to Oz. So, a question to an earlier statement from Adam talking about, you know, he's like a rifle was never in my hand, but the things I made probably, you know, contributed, not probably, but did contribute. What is your relationship to the proximity to war as opposed to like direct on the ground involvement? Like any war. So like, so let's say, not say this war of like Ukraine and Russia or what have you.
Just the general.
Just like but like, okay, you're not a person, and of course, you can speak to this as a vet, but just in any of them where you're like, because we could even apply this to like local situations of like gun shops and stuff like that, where you're like, oh, I didn't shoot that person, but I did supply the person who shot them with all of the materials to do so.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're definitely, I mean, you're a part of it. You can't say you're not just because you didn't, you know, shoot the rifle. Like, I'm not gonna sit up here and say, you know, there's not an ounce of blood on my hands because I'd be lying. You know.
Is any of our tax money technically going towards that? So we're all a part of it. Yeah.
But the thing that's sucky though, what sucks about that though is y'all don't necessarily have a choice. Like, you know, for me, you know, like now I'm saying this as a 32, almost 33-year-old person that can look back and reflect on that stuff. But when I joined the military, or however old, I don't know how old I am. Because
aren't you 33?
Yeah, I'm 33. I saw your face like, wait a minute, maybe I'm not the age.
Yeah. Josh's face just says red squiggly line all over it, man.
Yeah, because I would have just with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm 32.
I was like, wait.
He'd be hitting you with that Microsoft Word red. The spell check.
that paper clip showed up. Are you really this age?
Click here to find out. Yeah.
I was like, I'm only a month older than you. Wait a minute. Like, am I 32?
Yeah, like I feel like once I got to 31, I just kept forgetting how old I was. I just keep forgetting. But no, I'm saying like now I can look back and think about that and be like, dang, that is what it is. But I like when I was 20, I was not thinking like that. I guarantee you I wasn't. Because I just looked at it as like, oh, I'm just a mechanic, like,
Right.
And for me, I went into it like I'm probably never gonna even go overseas. Like, Air Force, they don't do that type of stuff. And then like as soon as I got the basic training, they're talking about when you deploy, like when you deploy, I didn't sign up for this. but I mean, after a while, it's like it is what it is, and it ends up being. I'm not gonna say it's one of the best times of your life, because that's not at all true. But it ends up being one of the most interesting times of your life. Put it that way. That is probably the best word for it, because you just meet, you're around these people that you're essentially, I mean, if I'm being dramatic, but for me, because some people go over there and they're legitimately going over there with a gun in their hand. I didn't, but anyway, but you can still find yourself in a situation though, because
right.
I think I've said on the podcast before, like there's still people where the base is in Afghanistan. We're fighting terrorists in Afghanistan, so it's not like and it's just fences. It's not like there's this big, like it's not like a moat. Where like, where it's like dragons and stuff protecting us. So
there's no X-Men shield or Professor X.
So yeah, they still like would launch like mortars and stuff at the base, constantly. So it's like it wasn't like it was like so it wasn't like it was completely safe.
Dude, that's a fucking daily reminder to like think about what's important to you in your life. That's a daily fucking reminder. And like for us, it's easy to just, I mean, some of us do it, but I would imagine overall it's easy for us to get lost in other shit that if you were dying tomorrow, you would see no value in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's all circumstance. And I think, at least for myself anyway, I'm not a person who's like mad attached to, I never, let me just put it like this. I couldn't tell you the last time I felt entitled to tomorrow.
Even work related?
I'm optimistic, but I couldn't tell you the last time I felt entitled to it.
Explain that a little bit if you don't mind. Please elaborate a little bit.
So
I want to believe you.
No, because a natural thing, not a natural thing, but I think a thing that I've been confronted with more recently than ever, but very much recently, is these ideas of like having a vision for yourself and where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years. Those things that like people typically get asked, and I would always go, hopefully alive and fucking.
Yes, that sounds about right.
But I've never been that person that's like, oh, when I hit 25, I should be at this point in my life. When I'm 30, I should be making this much money. Because I've never gone, oh, that's the expectation because I know I'm entitled to that thing in this amount of time based on the work that I'm doing. I'm just doing the work I'm doing and hoping that tomorrow I continue to grow, even if growing doesn't necessarily have like a fully defined image.
I feel that. Yeah. I dig that. So, I've always found those questions hard to answer myself. So I would always just fucking revert to whatever would seem like the easiest answer to get me hired in the interview. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you what the fuck you want to hear. Are you kidding me? I'm trying to work here, motherfucker. And of course, in 5 years, I want to be next to you, man, doing the best job I can do for this company. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna fuck.
What's even funnier for like my, I say funny, but like for me, it's different because I've rarely had to do interviews.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Like in my line of work, I've either gotten a job on merit, I got a job because I had a dick and I lift people, or I've been with the same organization for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just picturing you doing all the lifting, the heavy lifting with that third arm.
But that's a thing because, men are like such a small commodity in the dance world and whatnot that we have a good amount of privilege that keeps us employed.
Yeah. That's the same thing. Nursing is like that too. Because like a lot of hospitals, they need men just out of the physical, sometimes you get a 370 pound, guy in there. It's kind of hard to move him if you're 5'2", 120. So.
Bro, quick funny story. I don't know if y'all know this, but I did work for one day, a 12-hour shift in an ICU as a nurse's tech or like a nurse's assistant in the ICU. 2 people died in that 12-hour shift, and we had to present these dead patients to their families.
That sounds like a good day.
It was wild. And the funny thing, the thing that triggered this thought. The thing that triggered this thought was that we had to lift 2 people, and they were like, "Aaron, can you help?" And I'm like, "I'm good, I'm Holocaust skinny, dog.
I just clocked out for my break, man. I'll get you on the next one."
I'm Holocaust skinny, bro. This bitch is dead, so I can call her a bitch because she's dead, right? Oh, that's terrible. Okay. No, but seriously, they were like huge, man.
I'm still laughing at Adam being like, "Hey, man, I just went on break." I'll catch you on the next one. Why is that such a hilarious? Yeah, so that's always been so interesting to me. Like, well, that's just the thing I'm confronted with a lot in these days of, my relationship to dance is changing and all that kind of stuff. My body ain't it ain't bouncing back like it used to. Shout out to Mystical.
Well,
so
it's been in some trouble lately.
Shout out to 2008 Mystical.
You recommend too?
Oh shit! This motherfucker is too thorough. I don't like rapers who are thorough. I don't like. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It's really crazy because it's like. You always hear people shit. I was recently watching this Pharrell, like, I don't know if it was an interview or somebody was just like had a camera on when he was talking back in like early 2000s. Like this might have been Fly or Die, like In Search of a Fly or Die era,
Yeah.
And he was just talking about like, he was saying something that many people have said before. Whatever you do, be good at it. Whatever you do, be the best. Whatever you do, be the Black Mamba of that fucking thing. We didn't mean it about raping. We didn't mean it. That's all I'm saying. Don't be so thorough. Don't be so thorough, man. That's all I'm saying. There's some things it's okay to not be. It's okay to be many. It's okay to not be the best.
Yeah.
I was right there with you, man. I was like, ooh, where? I don't know where this is going.
But y'all have heard that, man. Y'all have heard this shit. Everybody's like, whatever you do, be the best, man. If you're going to be a stripper, you'll be the best stripper, man. Stay focused. Like, don't tell too many people to stay focused. This motherfucker was stalking this chick for 6 days straight. But he doesn't need any more focus, man.
I mean, the hilarious part to me, even more hilarious, of what you just said was like, yay, he was not guilty and all of that, but you said you said be the Black Mamba, but not of rape, and I was like,
oh shit, Kobe, I forgot all about it. Oh damn. I said some shit that flew over my own head. That shit flew over my own head.
Yeah, I was like,
I forgot all about that. Damn.
Shout out to the documentary series about the Lakers. It's actually pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
That and the scripted show is also fun to watch.
Winning Time.
Yeah, Winning Time.
Yeah, I gotta watch it.
I know I brought it up on this podcast many times, but cool. I think that's a good place to wrap this part up. So we're gonna take a little break. We'll be right back after this, and we're back. Shout out to our sponsor, Rhombus Room, building you not quite OnlyFans, but like what did you say? Kind of patrons. And so if you want to build a mediocre website, you go to Rhombus Room.
We gotta. Our sponsor has a new company. It's you're gonna pay a lot of money for less value, but hey, we got something new. It's not better, but it's new.
It's an escalade of website building. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and it's probably just not worth the investment. But Shout out to man for sponsoring this podcast.
Yeah.
Promo code honest. And so
oh man.
So current event. Bam. I don't have a better way to say this, but I'm sorry to our audience for talking about this motherfucker for 2 episodes in a row. Yo, fuck Kanye, man. I don't really because okay, this episode's coming out like a week or so from now, so I'm sure everybody already knows. He made a White Lives Matter t-shirt. Him and Candace Owens are standing side by side, looking like mismatched Oreos and whatnot. And I can't describe how unbothered I was by the whole thing. Just going like, okay, you know, Kanye on his Kardashian shit. He's stirring up controversy at his fashion show because he wants some attention about something. I can dismiss this easily. Then I found out that he had kids in the shirts. That pissed me off. Because to think that rhetoric isn't dangerous at all, this motherfucker, I think I heard Van Lathan call this motherfucker evil. And I was like, yeah, at that point, you kind of
are. I think I saw that clip too. I just think it's a stretch, man. I think it's a stretch.
Tell me your thoughts before I say more opinions.
I don't know why Kanye chose to do that. I'm not trying to validate those actions. All I can say is I love Kanye like Kanye loves Kanye. That's all, man. That's all. And it's forever, dog. It's forever. I'm sorry.
Why? I don't get why motherfuckers keep defending this motherfucker. I don't get why he's still defendable. Like,
I'm sure he has a reason to why he did the shit. I don't have to know. I don't honestly it's not like that particular subject of why he did it is not something I'm about to research. I didn't do any like real effort into.
And here's the thing, I respect your opinion and feelings and all that shit.
Yeah.
At the same time, fuck Kanye.
I feel like it's like anytime somebody does something, like it's up to us. It becomes hysteria because of us. And like, like if we're really done with Kanye, then we're done with, I'm not saying I am. Kanye, if you listen, I'm not, dog. I'm not. I'm just saying, but like if people have time and time again since what, 2012, 2013, I don't know, when he even before then, maybe. I'm done with Kanye. Clearly we're not. I'm not saying us specifically. I'm saying Twitter, social media, the culture, whatever. We're clearly not, because this is like a headline anytime he does something.
I mean, his whole thing, I don't, I'm not about no cancellation shit or all of that. Motherfucker's still famous. He gonna be famous, which means he's gonna show up in common media, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, it's a whole thing of when he, again, to bring up Van, we saw the clips and all that kind of stuff. Share the clips. He got told immediately after the stupid ass statement of slavery was a choice. He got told immediately how dumb of rhetoric that was, how irresponsible, how dangerous, how endangering that kind of rhetoric can be to even put out there as someone with as much power, influence, etc. as he has. He immediately was told that, and he had that blank ass deer look on his face as he heard it, because you just know he wasn't really fucking listening.
I got a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off. Because that's been our reviews. Our reviews specifically say they have good points, but they cut each other off. So I do not want to do that. It's just one review. But
it's fine. But my big thing is, when someone gives you that kind of reality check, my hope is always, and maybe this is just a personal thing, I really take that into account to go, okay, even if I disagree with the sentiment, what was that person actually saying? And so if since then he's continued to, do all, we can include all the shit with Trump, we can include all this to go toward a statement. We ain't talking about the organization. We're just talking about the statement of Black Lives Matter and how combated it was and has always been to make some piece of clothing just to say that at a certain point, it's not art. You're just being an ass.
Mm-hmm. For me, like the thing, I guess the part I don't understand is whenever like something like this happens, is like, why does Black people have to be the butt of the thing? Like, it feels like he's picking at us. Like, why are you picking on us, dude? Like, because you have like the White Lives Matter thing, you're going to get a reaction. The slavery was a choice. You're going to get a reaction. The MAGA hats, it just feels like he just poking at it. Like, that's the thing I don't get. Like, if you want to go viral or make a statement, you can do that. I mean, there's so many ways you can do it, but it's like, right. why do you keep choosing this? Why are we the target every time? That's what I don't get.
But meanwhile, every time he gets in some kind of like trouble and he needs like fan support to do it, even though he has this overwhelmingly like vast white audience, he immediately jumps back into Black folks defend me, the hood know me, yada yada yada. But like, it doesn't make sense.
And for me, I'm more confused than anything. Like, I don't like when I saw the White Lives Matter thing, I didn't even really have a reaction. I kind of thought it was funny. It was like, because for me, it's like, okay, something's going on. What's coming out? Something's.
Then
I found out that it was a fashion show. Like, oh, okay, there it is. Then I was like, then it was like, it just, after a while, you just kind of like, okay, you just don't care. But at the same time, you still wonder why. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't care, but I still would love to just understand, like
it's just irritating.
That's kind of my thing.
I don't want to care.
I kind of want to know why. Like, I'm sure I can go on his Instagram and read a bunch of stories explaining, like 16 different stories or whatever, explaining with him explaining why he did it or whatever. And I will be honest, maybe not every time, but oftentimes when I hear Kanye explain something, usually, hindsight is 20/20, as they say. I tend to be like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Even if I don't agree, I at least see where you're coming from. It might not be popular opinion, but I see where he's coming from. What I would not wear a White Lives Matter shirt. I might not even necessarily wear a Black Lives Matter shirt. I guess I don't have to present. I don't feel the need to present that any particular life matters because I believe it matters. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to. I'm not wearing a. I guess that's just me. But if we're gonna talk about Ye, man, I have to at least say I wouldn't wear the shirt. I wouldn't do that. But I'd be interested to know why he did it. Like, what was he trying to stir up? Was he trying to stir something up? Like, what conversation he's trying to start? Is he just trying to troll? It's one of the above, or if not a mixture of all of them. Okay, that's like a whatever answer is the truth. But at the same time, I wonder to like the culture, the question to the culture, the people is like to Josh, and I'm talking to you and our 17 followers, whatever. You say it's dangerous and stuff, and I understand. But at the same time, that's obviously because he has an influence. But at the same time, are we discrediting the discernment of all the listeners, all his fans or whatever, like their ability to discern or make up their own mind and say, do I agree with this as a person or not? Or do I think it's crazy or not? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what makes it dangerous when the idea of brainwashing or something or getting influenced to the point of, doing something harmful.
I don't think it's necessarily brainwashing. I think it's
sorry, that was a big word. Yeah.
I would say,
I mean,
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's brainwashing. I think it's a thing of when it comes to music, more often than not, people will listen to music objectively. And so someone like Kanye, who has a gargantuan audience, right? He is not necessarily trying to, impose his politics in his music, and he don't care about the politics of people in his audience. I'll say the latter more than the former. Yeah. But it's a thing of, excuse me, I don't trust the discernment of people at that particular stage, because if that was the case, people wouldn't be so ready to not black people wouldn't be so ready to yell nigga at concerts.
Oh, I guess you mean.
Like, just with no inhibitions in doing so.
Oh,
or look for that.
Elaborate a bit. I guess I'm talking about the ones. So you're not saying necessarily dangerous to black people. You're saying dangerous to those who aren't black, who might get a little too comfortable being, thinking they have Kanye's support, getting a little too comfortable. It's a thing of you're empowering people who already may have whatever opposing thoughts to the original statement. The original statement being Black Lives Matter. What happens inside of that, and the rhetoric that's always any opposing or similar statement to Black Lives Matter was always made in opposition to it. Okay.
And so it's a thing of it when you say statements like all lives matter, all that kind of, and or police blue lives matter, yada yada yada. It's not about the thing they're referring to. It's just to oppose Black Lives Matter. No one has ever. But and so the whole thing is, when you make a White Lives Matter church, it's not saying, oh my goodness, there's a disproportionate amount of white lives that are being ended unjustifiably, brutally, yada yada. There's no reason to make the statement.
Yeah, other than to
oppose black.
Yeah, because if White Lives Matter was a thing 20 years ago, fine. I mean, go with it. I mean, that's great, But the fact that it essentially was a response, a rebuttal, essentially, to Black Lives Matter, that's when it became, or All Lives Matter, whatever. That's when it became like, okay, you're just doing this to dismiss the original thing. And a lot of people would say Black Lives Matter is a scam and this and that. I don't know what it turned into, but I know that when it started, I know that I do believe it was sincere in what they were trying to do.
And I think that mainly has to do with from what I know, there's a differentiation between the movement and the organization.
Correct. Yeah.
And a lot of people aligned what the movement was doing with what the organization's missions, values, and vision, all that kind of stuff was. Mm-hmm. And the movement didn't always have to do with the organization. The movement was bigger than the organization, period.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Yeah. Okay,
but what would happen? I'm sorry, just to finish this thought. Okay. What would happen with people talking about Black Lives Matter? They would talk about these things that they disagreed with and where the money is going, all that kind of stuff, because of things going on with the organization. They will put that on the good things happening in the movement.
Yeah, 100%. Because that's what people do. Like that's what people do when they're trying to find something to validate any argument they have that's in opposition to whatever movement they're talking about. They're going to try to find something to play towards that agenda they have that's in opposition to the movement, But of course, yes, to comment, I agree with what y'all are saying. Of course, like that to me is obvious that like it can definitely be seen as it's not, it doesn't come off the right way. It comes off as like, okay, this motherfucker's just they're just doing the shit to troll or to oppose rather than actually in sincerity feeling like all lives matter, white lives matter, like that shit, because that shit seems to be more obvious given how black people are treated than Black Lives Matter. Of course, that's obvious.
The whole thing is like, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, of course, it's like,
I get that. I just don't think that
it didn't exist,
I guess I just wouldn't be. I more so understand the danger in it, as in, even if Kanye is not thinking that, and like I wouldn't just put that on everybody who says that and just assume that that's where they're going or that's their intention. However,
everybody says what?
Like, where's the white lives matter shirt or all lives matter? Like, I mean,
that's like saying like
I don't think that.
I'm sorry, my bad. I'm not.
Please.
Did not interrupt you.
Come on, man. We got that one review, but I guess I just wouldn't. That wouldn't be my first thought when I see that. Like every time, it would depend on the person. It would depend on the circumstance, or okay, kind of like what Adam was saying. Like, okay, let me think. Like, let me start thinking. Like, what could this person possibly be promoting? Like, what's coming up for them to do this shit now? Like, I would wonder those things before I just say, okay, they're automatically. They're automatically doing that.
I would assume the guy at Walmart with the All Lives Matter t-shirt is not about to drop an album like Kanye West.
Nah, of course. I'm not saying album, but you get what I'm saying. I was using that. I was using that to parallel. Like, okay, I would think further than just saying. That's just not. I wouldn't just assume that. That's not my first go-to or my second go-to. Like, they're just trying to oppose something or just be an asshole. To prove a point or to provoke something. In this particular situation, I wouldn't just assume that Kanye's wearing that shit for that. I think it could be dangerous because other people take it that way anyway and use that as an opportunity to go against, to add that to their agenda already opposing Black Lives Matter. And they feel like, hey, now we can use this image of Kanye in the shirt as a backing or to fuel our fire, even if he's not even meaning it that way. I don't necessarily think that I think Kanye thinks for himself in the sense of I'm doing what I think, not always what the people are thinking, or not always. He might say this is what people are thinking, but I think he's saying this is my thought. This is how I feel about the shit. And I think everybody agrees with me. You see what I'm saying?
I say this with all love and respect.
Okay.
That is an amazing amount of cognitive dissonance, because if that wasn't what his intentions were, why involve Candace Owens, who is notoriously anti everything about progression or betterment of Black people, and using all the like Fox News-esque talking points to blame Black people for all the things that the system has against them? Why make sure that she's a part of the promotion and post of this thing, knowing all the things that she represents, if that wasn't the intention?
What I'm saying is, it could be. What I'm saying is, that is not my first thought. That is not my first assumption or my second assumption. Like in the beginning, I said, I don't know. I feel like Kanye, and this is something that I respect, and because he does it in front of the world, if you will, so to speak. I like that he does what he wants to do to some degree. Everybody is confined to certain restraints, of course, but I like that, and people have the right to disagree. I guess I'm just not I'm also not a huge fan of, just because I don't agree with somebody, cancel them, or this is crazy. This is crazy. It's why I'm not big on hysteria because somebody says or does something that they might feel is whatever, unless there are boundaries, of course, in that. Mm-hmm. If somebody's promoting, I'm sure there are plenty of situations where I would eat my words and be like, okay, in this particular situation, we need to handle this person differently. Of course. Wearing that shirt at a fucking fashion show, I don't think is one of those. Do I necessarily agree with all of the things that Kanye does? Of course not. Of course not. It's not my first or my second assumption when I see that, is what I'm saying. That's why I'd be interested to hear his explanation. If it ends up being what you're saying, then I agree with you wholeheartedly. If it ends up being that, you know,
I'd like to believe that. What's that old statement that I wish I could remember who said it? Because I don't want to misname it, like Oprah said it or some shit. But when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou, thank you. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. This nigga has shown us so many times, and motherfuckers and just keep it. Nah, I ain't what he meant. Like, yo, come on. And so I feel you, but that's just the route that I can't help but go because
I feel you. Yeah.
I at this point, I'm not going to look for you to explain it, but I will always leave space for your growth. Because while I'm saying fuck Kanye right now, I'm not saying fuck Kanye forever. Yeah. I'm saying if he chooses to stay on this route and never grow in a way that I can align with what he got the fuck going on, then maybe it is fucking forever. Or at least until I'm out this bitch. But
no. To take it back to earlier, you're saying fuck Kanye today until we get new information tomorrow.
If we get new information that says that, you know, he's made some kind of growth, like he did what we talked about last time of him being like, hey, Sway had the answers 10 years ago. Although the market was different, yada yada. We explained that. Go watch the last episode. But he can make growth, sure. But I can't do this, and especially when you get kids involved, because once you get kids involved, then you like that's just a whole nother thing. That's like, yeah, I don't even have an analogy for it. But
I feel you, bro. You know, I'm more of the. By the way, I want to say that, like, I agree. I feel like I understand where you're coming from, and I resonate with those sentiments for sure. But there's also been enough times where I'll look at something to be like, and kind of like squint my eyes and like crunch my face, you know, give him that and do the yayo dance, like, yo, what do you do? And then when he explains it, I'm like, oh, I might not agree with it, but I understand where you're coming from. There's been enough times like that where I'm like, okay, let me sit back a little bit. So I think that's what is more of the catalyst for my way of looking at it now. Now, separate from that, the need of possibly trolling or attention seeking or whatever. I mean, it's social media. We're all doing it. We all are, you know, you don't post anything without the desire to get some sort of reaction. Otherwise you wouldn't have the fucking platform. Like, that's separate to me. If he's like to do that shit, to like, for that to be your way of getting the attention or getting a certain conversation started, or, you know, getting motherfuckers in hysteria, maybe I'm kind of more distant and like, I don't know if I'm feeling that shit. You know, find another way, maybe. Whatever that way is. That's
that Kardashian shit. Like, he learned while under that tutelage of Chris and them. You know, like, hey,
unfortunately it works. I guess
it works. And like, I can't knock it for it working. You know what I mean? But that's all my thoughts on that. AJ, you got anything? Aaron, you got any last thoughts?
No. Nah, man, I'm sorry for.
I'm retired on Kanye.
I got them all
out. Word. All right, we're going to wrap it there. We appreciate y'all for listening. As always, you can find us at InforMILLy Honest on everywhere except Twitter. That's InforMILLy_HP. And by all means, write us. I've mentioned the email several times in this episode, but InforMILLyHonestPodcast@gmail.com. That's InforMILLy honestpodcast@gmail.com. We appreciate you. We love you. And every connection that you make, every person that you encounter, and every relationship that you engage in, we implore, empower, and encourage. I remember this week you to always be forthright, vulnerable, and most of motherfucking all, be fucking honest, man. Just be honest.
Rest in peace, Bernie Mac.
Yeah,
that's what you sound like. I don't know who you're trying to sound like him.
Motherfucker, yeah.
Peace, world. We appreciate you for listening.
Yeah, my camera went out.
I was about to say, Josh really meant it. He's out this motherfucker. Goddamn.
Without shedding a tear for my brother, I really want to try for my brother, 'cause I truly do feel for my brother.